Hello and welcome to this video cast. My name's David Gornall, founding member of WealthShareUK. This is in fact our first video cast. And I just want to use them as a way of getting my ideas across to people. Obviously, I want to encourage you to come to our website, www.wealthshareuk.org, because on the site, it will give you more information about our goals and what we hope to achieve. The site you can access without being a member, but I would like to encourage you to become a member because WealthShare is about a social movement. It's about groups of people coming together to look for solutions and to make a positive push forward. So obviously I would like you to come to the site and I would like you to become members. Membership really just means that we can have a safe place basically where we can exchange views. We all know the difficulties now of even making a video or expressing any views. You can very quickly fall foul of hate speech, call it whatever you will. So the website was the first thing I built because I want to create a haven where we can feel safe, where members can feel safe. Doing YouTube videos is one way of getting my message out, and we'll have to see how long that lasts before somebody deems what we're doing as not in the interest of the country or whatever. Now, WealthShare is not about blaming people. It's not about that sort of movement. We're not looking to every week to be criticising governments, criticising things that go on. Most of us know what the problem is. There's a fundamental problem with our economic system. And it will only be fixed by people like ourselves coming together and coming up with an ideas and putting it to the government. I firmly believe, that maybe we should just ask the government, this is what we want. This is how we want to live our lives. Now, we know that there is forces that are steamrolling through our society, basically. And these forces are a force, if you get my drift. So they will need to be dealt with we will need to bring them to the table. Of course we do. Because again, with WealthShare, this is why I want people to come in, because everyone's going to have to be sat at the table. This isn't about one group of people sort of lording it over another group of people or suggesting that this other group of people are, doing things correctly, or I don't know. Could we get people together to do this? Could there be some common ground? I'm sure we all have the same goals in life, We all just want to live as happy a life as possible, achieving some kind of success. But the way things have gone in this modern world, it's what I call meism. The whole framework is about this personal struggle for you to climb to the top of your personal tree, often at the expense of your life, our lives, and everyone else's life. In that it is your survival that matters more than anything. Now, I would never like to be in a situation where we don't have a certain amount of self-determination. Again, WealthShare is not about getting everyone at a certain level. No, you can't go any higher than that because that means you're gonna. No, people are different, and some people are very good at certain things. Who are we to tell people they can't do this, they can't do that? So we need a system that's very flexible. But the fundamental problem is the distribution of wealth. How do we sort of get living wages and give security to people who, who don't fit basically into the system. You know the system I'm talking about keeping your head down, going to school, finishing school, going to uni, get your job. What does the advert say? Have you decided what you're going to spend your extra 10,000 a year on when you get your degree and things? This is a complete corruption of the education system. Nobody should be selling education to people like health. It should not be sold to no one, right? And we need an economic system that reflects this. See, fundamentally, WealthShare, it's about distributing money down to, I hate the term ordinary people, but to the mass, basically, because they're the ones with the ideas, they're the ones who drives things forwards. They're the ones who create businesses. They're the ones who create communities. And we need that money to get down to them, not handed out as some kind of charity or some kind of council, you do this and we'll do that. It goes into their pockets every week for life. Everybody gets it. See, I fundamentally believe that, this world has been built, this country of ours was built on our ancestors. We pay our taxes. We forcibly pay taxes. So whether we like it or not, there is a community, and we need community, because community is what is our support structure for many. I mean, obviously family comes first, and family often is a great support structure, but not for everyone. Everyone doesn't have that support structure. And I think for us all to have there must be some kind of cohesive system that's working for the benefit of the next generation, if you will. So there's these things built in that we can't muck it up too much and then say to our young people, well, deal with it. We need to get these things in place now. And when I talk about community, I don't mean we all need to hold hands, and you're only ever going to know a certain amount of people. But it's this idea that we're working towards a common goal, that somehow all our energies that we put in and our tax is going into some legacy, something that's carrying on, and that when our young people grow up, they see what's good in life and what you need to do to achieve a certain sort of happiness in life. It is, people have said to me, you want some kind of utopia and everyone's happy and smiling. That will never, ever happen. People will still get sick, right? People will still get down and hurt, and people will still have all the emotions. They will still break up in love affairs. They will go through the whole of that emotion. That part of life will never disappear. It will be with us, and the struggle will be with us forever, because it's an enormous ongoing task. But this idea that we all have a share in this country and we've all built this wealth and we all contribute to it. So why are we not? I mean, I'm asking, where's my share? Where's everyone's share? Why don't we have a situation where we're all working away, but this 25,000 I've suggested everyone gets for life is that share. It's that share of the wealth that we are all creating, and our grandparents and people before us all created, worked hard. All the people who worked on the land, who drained it and created all this farming community that, let's face it, it's now disappeared. I know, I come from the country. I live in the city now, but I come from the country. I understand what happened, right? I'm not saying it's particularly anyone's fault, but it really is down to an economic system. So by getting this money to people, the important thing also that it gets the money to communities, and we try to keep the money in the communities. Now, what we're seeing now is that you are getting paid from a corporation, probably some bank, a world bank. So your wages are coming from some corporate company somewhere, anywhere in the world. It could be literally anywhere in the world. He's paid to you, and then it's going out to literally anywhere in the world. I mean, your money's not stopping here, and everyone wonders why the stores are shutting down. It's because people are going to the next city to work. They're not buying the sandwich in the town that they're living in. They don't even buy the fuel locally. So when we look at this sort of mobile society, you can very quickly see why it's crumbling. Now, obviously, it's going to be difficult to build an economic system like this, because it sounds on the face of it very simple, and it's why most people will dismiss it, because they'll just go, we can't give people money, we can't just print money. In this system, we can't, because there's only so much devaluing of money we can do, and it is being devalued. You know, at the end of the day, if you buy a house for 120,000 one year, and next year it's 130,000, you could suggest that it's gone down in value because you need more pounds to buy the same house that's actually a year older. So that's the devaluation of the pound. Of course, it could be fixing the market. It could be, which they do. You know, I mean, we've noticed obviously now that they're building houses everywhere. What that's going to do to the marketplace, we don't know. We don't know. We're going to find out. We was always said it would depress the market. It doesn't appear to depress the market around where we live, that's for sure. So WealthShare is about that. It's about getting money to people. And so what would it mean? It would mean that not everyone would be working for profit, if you will. If you get, you know, you sort of, in other words, you've got a basic value of 25,000 that you can contribute back to society by doing some of it. Some people will be, as I would call them, world builders, and they would sort of almost work for that amount of money. So they would do the sort of jobs, almost social jobs, if you will. That doesn't mean we should demote social jobs, because again, what is about getting wages that are more than some? What do we mean by that? What is wealth? We need to look at wealth and understand what is meant by wealth. I still want companies. I still want, you know, people to set up in business. I believe in the small business. It's the backbone of all societies. People have great ideas. They want to do these things. They're driven to do these things. We are not here to say, oh, you can't have a business and earn more than this guy because this guy's only on that. It's about you being content with what you want to do. Yeah? And if you want to be in your community and you basically want to work for environmental issues, looking after parks, canals, or, you know, and you want to be part of that community building spirit, and you're quite sort of saying, well, actually, you know, my partner gets this much money and I get this much money, and because the whole economic system has changed in that, you know, the costs of things will be completely turned on their heads. It's difficult to understand in a quick video like this. And this is what will go down that road and discuss these things. So it's very difficult to imagine what it would be like, because I believe that most people sort of want to do that. And the bad thing about life now is that you're just a number on a job sheet for most people. And some of the wages they're paying external. I mean, what cost is food? If we paid all the people in the supermarkets a proper wage, I mean, what cost would food be? Are we actually suggesting that all the supermarkets would go out of business because we had to pay all them staff a proper wage? I mean, if that's the case, we're in a very precarious situation, are we not? Because that, again, is another issue about the way that we're doing things. We're relying on food from other countries. Is our infrastructure robust enough? Is it truly robust enough? Or is everything just in time? And what would happen if the internet fell down? You know, and could we quickly pick things up? I have a bit of a thing that humans would actually, they would pick the ball up. But then the other side of it, you have this fear that the whole fabric of society will collapse because there is no society. I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said, there is no such thing as society, there's just individuals. And again, that kind of reflects on my idea of meism. This is not a, a knock at people like that or at that kind of thinking. But there has to be, for our own sake, there has to be some way of distributing money more favourably. Because we also must look at foreign countries. If let's just say money was printed as it probably used to be, how much gold you had. So all right, that now we'll print the money based on how much gold. What if you have no gold in your country? What if you're a country with no gold? And what's ironic is all the countries that have the gold mines, they're all bloody poor. So you can automatically see that somebody went in and claimed the gold because you could. You could go in and say, I claim this land, mine it, take it all out of the country, leave the country with virtually nothing. Oh, they all had jobs, of course. Yeah, they're all in coal mines 6 miles underground, risking their lives for a little bit of gold. So we could print money to buy Porsches. I don't know. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But, you know, this is, if you really start looking at it, it's quite horrific, actually. You know, it's horrific. What? Diamonds, gold, oil. They're everybody's. They're nobody's. It's dangerous to get to them, and I accept that businesses take risks and people invested in them to do it, to get these things out. And you know, again, this is why I don't want to see business end, because there is a bit more to it than just going, oh, it's all their fault. But it seems to me the one thing all countries have in common, no shadow of a doubt, is people. Now, I hate the term human resource. There's nobody in the world hates it more than me, and I've met a few, and they know about it, don't you worry. But we kind of are a human resource, aren't we? You know, what if we sort of said, well, actually, you know, if we had a world system where each individual country said, right, what we're going to do is print money from our society bank, if you will, so much per person. And of course, different countries and people with different learning, there would be different levels where they could, not everyone could, you know, you could be in a third world country and what they get per year would be very little. But as they built their infrastructure, as it grew and grew and grew, their economy grew and grew, they will get more money, if you get me drift. So there'd be a kind of an incentive. Plus, they'd have a sort of, they'd be very invested in what they were doing. So generation after generation, if they knew that it would be passed on to the children, that this ethos would be there, that society comes first, the planet comes first, which is terribly important. You know, the ecosystem, whether it's global warming, climate change, you know, there's just one big argument about it all. What we do know is we're consuming lots of raw material, and it can't go on forever. It can't. We're strip mining the world, and the future generations. And we look at the wildlife as well. What would happen when there's no giraffes? Yeah. What the orangutans, lions? Can you even imagine? None in the world ever again. And don't think some scientist is going to go in some laboratory and just create one because of DNA. It's not going to happen. It may, and they may have already done it, in which case you're going to have to come and tell us now before we waste any more time. You know, for all I know, they've done it. And they just, but it doesn't change the fact that they will have nowhere to live. So will they just be in zoos? Really? In this day and age? Zoos? So, all right, I've gone off the point a little bit, I might add. But the point of these videos is for me to just do my musings, you know, because this is what we need to do. We need to really open our minds up a little bit, and all of us, and put our heads together. This is why I want WealthShare to be a community thing. This is not an ideology that I've sat down and written and said, right, it's going to be done like this and this and this. It's got to be flexible, because the one thing we need is this, you know, change, a change, but not everyone's going to have the same change. You know, what my vision is, of course, is that, you know, some of look at the seaside towns in this country starved of money going into them. can you imagine what they would do if they were getting this money coming in and they organised themselves and started to do with that money what they want to do with it? So they have this resource, which is a seaside town. How can we get people to enjoy those towns, maybe move to them? You know, retirement places. And I know you could say, oh, that's... But when you had that cash for life, that cash, people think you're just giving it money to people to just blow on anything. They wouldn't. They'd use it maybe to live in these places, and they'd bring the money with them. So the place would get more wealthy. There'd be local shops. Yeah, the big local clothes shops, because they're older people would. If you sat and thought about it, which is what I'm asking you to do, think about never having maternity pay. Fancy having the money all the time. You don't need unemployment. You don't even need a retirement thing, retirement pension. That doesn't mean that when with your money and what you do with yourself, you don't contribute to a pension fund that gives you a better pension than the average person. Perfectly acceptable. If you want to do that, some people, that money would be the sole, almost the sole income. But for others, it will be part. And of course, we will give it to rich people. The rich people get it just the same. They're citizens. Everyone will be equal in as a citizen, if you get me drift. And they will get it. But they would use their money to do other things. They might put it into arts. They might send it back to the government, and they might say, do this with it or do that with it. Or they might sponsor someone in business. There's lots and lots of things that would happen. I know it does sound a little, do you not think everyone's just going to go crazy? Yes, I suppose there will be those, but they're doing that anyway, aren't they? But I'm quite sure that because it has to be a change of our thought patterns, you know, our whole being has to change. We have to look at life differently. I'm sorry, but we have to sort of put away those trinkets and that gold in our eyes look. And we sort of are, aren't we? You know, we're looking at, you know, paintings worth 30, 40 billion or whatever. How many people would it feed? It is ridiculous. Now that, if you've got that much money, that's absolutely fine. But we've got to have a look at a system that's got people that rich. And it's this system, I'm afraid. And it's proven that the rich are getting richer. And I'm not saying that's what we're trying to, again, we're not, WealthShare isn't about taking money off rich people. It's about getting money to people who haven't got as much and to build a society where, you know, that there isn't this thing with jobs where we kind of look down on people who drive a bus or a woodworker, you know, and say, oh, you're only worth this in the commercial market. And maybe I am. That's completely fine. But it has got a little bit out of hand. And you look at some of the incomes that people are getting, and mainly because there's a less of them, you know. I mean, everyone can't be a surgeon, can they? No matter how hard you try. Believe you me, I'm not cutting anyone up. Oh, touched my microphone, sorry. But believe you me, I won't be cutting anyone up. You know, these people have great skills. And we want those people, we want our engineers, our designers, our scientists, our business builders, our community builders, our world builders, as I call them, to be set free with that income and that pressure off them. And we have to really stop this adversarial sort of business where everyone's fighting for the top to get above the next person, the next country. Because it's pretty obvious if you're in that world, you're not. Why on earth would you help the third world to sort of get on if they're going to be your competition? The answer is you're not. The first thing you do is go in and get them in debt to you for a start, because that's the first way of controlling anyone or anything, is to get them in debt. So this is why this debt way of doing things, this is what we have to sort of come away from. Now, obviously, the technical stuff of printing this money and how we're going to deal with it, how do we stop it running out of the country, what can we do with it, what should there be restrictions on it? And I understand that many people will think this is New World Order. You want a community that's all beholden to this force that's going to give them... Well, whose country is it? Are we going to... I think another thing WealthShare wants to do is to find out whose country it is. Are we just here... I was born, you're born here, and you're all... The only existence you're here for is to work for the state, work for us and make a profit. Without that, you're nothing. You actually have nothing that you can't go out and get. Is that not a little strange? I mean, where does that leave us? That means nobody... If there's nobody who cares about the environment we live in, because we're all just here because... the minute you stop working, we'll chuck you in jail or we'll throw you on the scrap heap, whatever you're going to do. Then what incentives have we got other than making money and buying ourselves entertainment? Bigger cars, bigger houses, more holidays, better pensions. The whole concept of that you would somehow retire and do nothing. But of course, if you've got a very good pension, you don't do nothing, you actually recycle your money. In other words, you go and buy things, you go on holiday, and people gain from that, you might say. So that's a good thing, but it's kind of sad, isn't it, that, you're left with being this sort of minority of people who've managed to get a good pension together, which is great. But you are just a thing somehow, keeping the economy going. It's kind of sad when you've got so much skills to give. And I just see these people as mentors. Can you imagine how great it would be if we were all working towards... Because most of what we know about or don't know about haven't happened yet. I genuinely believe until somebody's done it, it's not been done. And it's no good looking at the economy and going, oh, we can't do that, it'll cause inflation. Yes, people will lose things in the sense that sort of almost a con that you've got this security. I'm not so sure you have, because if we find out that we are not invested in our country and we have no say, actually have no say, you haven't got a rights, you have no rights in this country. The country is solely owned by this group of people or this legal mechanism. I mean, you only have to go on YouTube to, see all the various people talking about how the law system and all that, you have no rights and things. I'm not fully averse with all that sort of stuff, but let us find out. Let us find out how much we actually own. And it could be quite frightening when we really look at it and then realise that actually you're not even a cog. You're not even a cog. So this is what WealthShare is about. It's about looking at how we can redistribute these wealths and how we can build a comprehensive society that builds and builds and builds and builds, but is based on local areas, that we're not, so that we get money down to ordinary people. Ordinary, I've used that word again, I'm terribly sorry. I will have to come up with something else. Because I believe they're the ones who know what to do with it. So that'll do for the moment, because I think that's about half an hour. So I will leave you with a question.